during the state of emergency. The new law authorizes all members of a public body to continue participating in meetings remotely. The open meeting law's requirement that a quorum of the body and the chair be physically present at the meeting location remains suspended. For this meeting, the Hopkinton Conservation Commission is convening by video conference via Zoom, as posted on the town's web meeting calendar and the Conservation Commission agenda identifying how the public may join. Additionally, the meeting may also be broadcast by HCAM through one or many of its channels or platforms. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Please also keep yourself on mute unless and until called on by the chair. Supporting materials that have been provided to members of the commission for this meeting are available on the town's website. This meeting will feature public comment. After commission members and staff have discussed each project application on the agenda, the chair will open the discussion for public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak are asked to identify their name and address. 3 minutes will be afforded for each public comment. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted via roll call of the members. I will now confirm which commission members are present. Jim Cirillo.
Here.
Ed Harrow.
Present.
Matt Moyen.
Present.
And I am Ted Barker Hook. I am present. I will now confirm staff that are present. Judy Day, the Hopkinton Conservation Administrator.
Present.
Anna Rogers, the Environmental and Inspectional Services Coordinator.
Present.
And Joe Orzel of Lucas Environmental.
Present.
I just want to let everybody know that we've had a number of hearings continued at the request of the applicants. We will not be discussing the Hopkinton Trails Committee, Chamberlain Street Loop Road connection. We will not be discussing REC Hopkinton at 0 Lumber Street, nor will we be discussing the hearing for 37 Oakhurst Road. The first two have been continued to September 23rd. Oakhurst Road has been continued to October 7th. With that, I turn it over to Matt to get us really going with the fun stuff.
Thanks, Ted. Much appreciated for reading everything in here. So we'll get started with some work session items. We got a couple of documents for review. The first is for 73 Clinton Street, Certificate of Compliance. Judy, do you want to just give us a quick update on this one?
Yep, through the chair. So this is a request for a new signature page for a certificate of compliance that the commission approved back in 2006. The original copy was lost before it was able to be recorded, but it was approved and we have a digital copy of it. So we just need a vote from the commission today to issue a new signature page that they can then record with the Registry of Deeds.
Great. Thank you, Judy. I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Ted. Second?
And I'll second it.
Ed, thank you. Quick roll call vote. Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I am an aye. All right. Next up is 42 North Mill Street, an enforcement order that Judy had pulled together, I think, today or yesterday. So if you could catch everyone up on this one, that would be great.
Yep, through the chair. So this document goes along with work session item 5. So you can either do them both now or we can return to it when we get there. But it would be approving, actually acting on a restoration plan that the homeowner has put together to be reviewed under that 5th work session item.
Great. Yeah, I think it makes sense that we'll jump down to 5 and combine it and talk about both now.
Okay. Yeah, so the last commission meeting that this was discussed, the homeowner was asked to revise the replanting plan for trees removed in Riverfront to include a mix of trees and shrubs versus just shrubs. So we do have that revised plan. I'm happy to go over it or pass it over to John, who is the homeowner, and put the plan together.
Sure. Is John on the call?
Yep. I do.
Hello, this is John Tudiel, 42 North Mill Street. Yes, I'm here.
Hey, John, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Do you want to give us just a real quick high-level
Okay,
rundown
okay.
of the updates you made since we last spoke?
Yes. So this is a region 1 where the plants were cut, and this is a outside region. So Judy, could you bring up the two photographs that I provided so get a better perspective?
Sure. 1 second.
Do you have it or not?
Yeah. Takes a second to get
this
through
one.
the files.
Not this one. So I sent it with the plan. There were 2 images. Okay, you can bring it later. I can show that later. There are 2 pictures, which is highlighting in blue diagram what this one is. Okay, so let's go to these are 2 pictures. Okay, and this is the region that I showed in the other diagram where the trees were cut. And this is the region on the right side, which I highlighted here, where there are some free space where I can plant the trees. Here were the 4 trees that were cut, 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you look, there are too many rocks here, and the trees are kind of very close by, barely 8 feet, 5 feet. So in this region, I will be planting the shrubs. And in this region, just outside of it, which is here, I will plant the tree just outside, protecting it from the lake. So you can go back to the diagram that we have the perspective of the region. So the other, can you go to the other diagram? Okay, so this is where the trees were cut and 8 feet by 5 feet. So here will be mostly shrubs. So there'll be tree cuts are in the red. I cut these 2 trees, but I took ownership of these 2 trees that were cut before. And they're going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 shrubs, and they're going to be 4 trees. And the I can't see the bottom, so can you roll up a bit? Okay, so this shows the relative position. So this is the front of the house. This is the back of the house. This is the extent of the lawn. And so it's about 30 feet from here and 40 feet from here. And the pictures were taken me standing here at this place. So the species of the trees would be the next page. So the shrubs would all be low bush blueberries. And the trees would be choke cherry, which is about 30 to 40 feet tall, and gray birch about also the similar height, 30 to 40 feet tall. That's all I have. Any comments?
Great. Thank you, John. Anyone on the commission have any thoughts or comments they'd like to share?
I'm sorry, I may or may not. I'm just trying to pull up images of choke cherry trees and the other ones because I don't have a sense for what kind of tree they are.
It's funny you say that because I just did the same thing for the choke cherry. I was like, let me just see what that looks like.
Yeah. I wonder if Joe or Zell has thoughts on those particular tree offerings as replacements for what's been removed, while I continue to try to find some pictures to understand what those trees are.
Yeah. Joe, not to put you on the
Yeah,
spot.
so
but
I wasn't clear. This is Joe. I wasn't clear on what was removed. But as far as those particular trees for planting, It looked like a pretty upland location. Choke cherries and gray birch will both do well there. It looked pretty sunny. They like sunny locations. They're pioneer species, fast growing. Choke cherries will provide some wildlife food habitat. Neither one of them are very big trees, but they are fast growing.
Great. Thank you, Joe. Yeah, my recollection is the trees that were out there were rather large, and there was some concerns about falling on the house. So I think we were amenable to some smaller replacement trees as long as the quantity was there, and there were going to be some shrubs to supplement it. So I don't know if anyone recalls anything differently, but that was my recollection of our last discussion.
No, and now that I've looked at pictures, I originally typed in chokeberry, and those are pretty clearly bushes, not trees. But I found some pictures. I think I'm okay with those trees.
And I'd be remiss not to ask if you have any thoughts here, since we're talking trees.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue.
Fair enough. So it sounds like we're all in agreement. So I would happily take a motion. Well, let me take a step back. Judy, can we talk a little bit about the second item, the enforcement order, and the language that was pulled together here?
Yep. Yeah, so the original enforcement order required the homeowner to put together the restoration plan. So now that we have that, I put together a new enforcement order to require compliance with that restoration plan. So most of the information is the same. When you get to section C, now the requirement is install plantings as depicted on sketch plan. All required plantings to survive a minimum of 2 growing seasons. Plantings that don't survive shall be replaced and monitored for survival. And then I have several conditions, mostly standard, but one special condition around installing the PIB that was also depicted on the sketch plan provided. So happy to answer any questions, or if you have feedback, can make some tweaks to it as well.
Yeah, from my perspective, nothing jumped out at me as concerning. I think you had everything covered, but anyone else on the commission have questions, comments, thoughts on the updates here?
But they all look good to me. Thank you, Judy.
Okay. So I think at this point, I entertain a motion to issue the revised enforcement order for this particular property.
Do we need signatures?
And signatures, yes. Please include that in your motion.
I will make that motion, including signatures, because we won't be signing. Ann and Judy.
Second?
No, second.
Thank you, Jim. Quick roll call vote. Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Ed?
I'm an aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I am an aye. Thank you, John, for pulling that together.
Sure. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Yep.
All right, moving down the list, we've got a couple of items here. There's no draft minutes for review today, so we'll jump right into the first of 2 DPW items. I think I saw Carrie on the line. Carrie, are you here?
Hi, I'm here.
Hi, Carrie. How are you?
Good.
So I think we'll start with Lake Maspinock, the DPW drawdown request. Judy, I don't know if you have anything to add, but I think what we'd love to hear, Carrie, from you is just kind of a refresher on the work that's going to be executed and what you're looking for from the commission tonight.
Okay, great. No problem. So hi, everyone. Carrie Reed, Director of Public Works. So we have been responsible for implementing the weed management program that has been recommended by the Lake Maspinock Weed Advisory Citizen Group, or Citizen Advisory Group. So this group has been working for 10 plus years evaluating the situation with the weeds in the lake and making recommendations. So part of that, we came before the Conservation Commission to get an order of conditions that included a toolbox of multiple options that could be used for weed management. And so we're operating now under this order of conditions. But we've also always done operations and maintenance, I shouldn't say always, operations and maintenance of the dam itself. So this order of conditions kind of includes that piece of it. So for the regular maintenance of the dam, we always do a drawdown in the winter time. It's typically like 3 to 5 feet, 3 feet. Every third year, we've been doing an extended drawdown. It serves two purposes. One is the maintenance of the lake, and the other is that it does help with weed control. So what it does is exposes the bottom of the lake. And if we get a nice cold freeze, that will damage or destroy the roots of a lot of the weeds. And so it's really effective if we get a good, nice cold section. So last year we were doing repair work to the dam. So the lake was, in addition to doing repair work, we had drought conditions. The lake was a little bit lower than it typically was, and we had a good cold winter. So it actually worked pretty well. So that is the Citizen Advisory Group's preferred method. It's least intrusive. It's very effective if we get the right weather. In addition to that, which has been like kind of normal practices at the lake for several years, based on the research and recommendations of the Citizen Advisory Group, and we also, as a town, we hire a limnologist to help out and provide like that technical expertise. We had the recommendation, and we've went before you guys to get approval to do an aquatic herbicide treatment. So we didn't do it this summer. We did the previous summer. We did that. It was very effective, as we expected. We did all of the requirements, the pre and the post surveys. It seemed to work pretty well. As I said, we had that kind of 5-foot drawdown last winter, and that froze it out. So the beginning of this year, when we did the pre-summer kind of the spring survey, everything looked pretty good. And it still continued to be pretty good, but we just did a survey back, what was it, the end of June or July? It's in that letter. The end of summer survey. Actually, it was later than that. And the weeds are starting to come back. I think there were a lot more native species, which is good, but the density is back up again. So based on that, we are recommending right now for this winter to do the extended drawdown, because we have been doing it every 3 years, so this will be the 3rd year. And then we are waiting for the final report from the new limnologist that we hired to give us recommendations on what we should do next year. And that's my full summary.
Great. Thank you, Carrie. Yeah, everything I'm hearing is we're supposed to have a cold fall and cold winter, so it's probably timing up nicely for this every 3rd year drawdown. You're talking about the 8 feet. I don't have any questions on my end. I think this is a great alternative for controlling the weeds in the lake, so it's good to see we're still doing that. Anyone on the commission have any thoughts, comments, anything you'd like to share? Not hearing any. Ed? No, go ahead. I saw you come off mute. Go ahead.
Other than that Carrie is a rock star? No.
That's you're welcome to share that comment as well. I think we all agree. Judy, I think we want to vote on this one, correct?
It would, yeah.
Great. So I'll entertain a motion to, I guess, approve this extended drawdown as one of the measures DPW is going to use for managing weeds at Lake Maspinock.
I'll make that motion.
Well, I'll second it then.
All right, quick roll call. Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I am an aye. All right, one down, one to go, Carrie.
Well, thank you, everyone. And the Citizen Advisory Group and the Lake Maspinock Preservation Association are very thankful for the support and everybody's help with all this. So I will let them know. And we'll work with our team to start the drawdown. We typically start it mid-September, but we are very, very cognizant of the drought conditions that we're experiencing now. So we're going to be watching that and making sure that we're considerate of that as we do the drawdown. So thank you. All right, switching gears. You ready for the next one?
Yeah, you want to jump into the Ice House Pond project summary?
Yes. So this I'm very excited about, but so DPW, we are going to submit a grant application for the Community Preservation Commission or Community Preservation Act round this year to try to do some improvements at Ice House Pond. So hopefully you all are familiar with it, but as you're going down West Main Street towards town, it's on your left, near Golden Pond. It has the historic train depot out front, parking area, the ponds behind it, and then Berry Acres, which you guys manage, is on the other side of the road. So what I'm proposing to do is right now try to get some funding for conceptual design. Personally in DPW, it's always been bothering me that it has this kind of amoeba parking lot that doesn't function very well, and cars kind of go everywhere. They come in and off the road everywhere. There's huge puddles all the time. It wasn't last year, the year before, we tried to do some grading and help out with that, but it's always kind of difficult. So that was where I was interested in it as DPW, but I want to read out the Conservation Commission because I know you have some interest in there because of the connection to the conservation space across the road. It's like those trails are really well used, and also some interest in protecting the resource, which is the pond itself. One thing I talked to Judy about was that the Conservation Commission had been looking for some projects to show how you could do like a nice native planting buffer. And we've been looking at the Lake Maspinock and we couldn't find a really great space. So this felt like a really good area that maybe we could do a pilot project and put in some more native shrubs and species and show what you could do with like really responsible landscaping as part of the improvement projects. So I was hoping that because of that and with the improvements, hopefully to the drainage from the parking lot, that would have to come before conservation, that I wanted to see, like, let you guys know about the project, see if you have questions. And then I was hoping that you might be willing to like write a letter of support to CPC for the grant application.
Great. Yeah, no, I mean, I think this is a great idea. It's a high visibility location. And if we can use it as an educational tool, as well as something that residents in town can use to both access that side of the road and Berry Acres, I think there's a lot of positives about a project in this location. So I would certainly support that. And I think it would be great as long as the rest of the commission agrees for us to pull together a letter of support and provide that to you to submit with the grant application. Ted, Ed, or Jim, any thoughts or comments?
Yeah, just a couple. Hi, Carrie. Thank you. This is a great idea. Will this be used as a trailhead for Berry Acres, do you think? And if so, consider putting in some type of crosswalk or at least signage?
I think it's a great question. I think we need to look at that because, right, there's no real easy way to get to Berry Acres, and this is a very popular space to park. So that's why we are going to hire Halverson, and this is a proposal that I got, is an landscape architect firm that we've been using for some other projects I've been very happy with. Ty and Bond is an engineering firm that does our peer reviews and some other work for town. So I'm hoping that all these things will come up and that they might be able to give us some examples. The challenge with that area is it's a mid-block crossing, which can be dangerous. So we want to make sure we can do something safely. But I think it's definitely something we need to look at, or definitely signage, because some people, they park there and they walk around the pond and they have no idea that the trail network is across the street. So something that helps build that would be great.
Well, there's a lot of, I think, additional trail extensions and stuff going on. I would, if I could, I would support a letter, although, as you may know, I'm on CPC, so it may or may not be appropriate, but well done.
Saw Melissa jump on, so feel free if you have any thoughts as well here, Melissa, to jump in.
Yeah, no, I would just echo support for this project. I think it's great. And I like the connection that you're making with the buffer plantings, and then being able to kind of like point to this for other homeowners, landowners, projects in town. So yeah, no, definitely. I think we can come up with a pretty good support letter, and anything else through the process. Be happy to weigh in or support on. Yeah.
Ed or Ed, anything either of you like to share? Ed, was that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Go right ahead.
First, echoing Jim's thoughts about the crosswalk. But secondly, this is a bit of trivia that probably, I'm guessing most of you don't know. The Hopkinton High School hockey team, like in the 1930s, this was their home ice. And there is a picture, or there was a picture at the Historic Commission Inner Sanctuary at the library of the crew out there. So maybe said picture could be copied and stuck up on the wall in the railroad station. That's all.
That's a great idea. That's amazing, by the way.
Good bit of history right there, Ed. Anyone else? Happily, if there's any comments from the public, happy to entertain those as well here. Not hearing any. I don't know that we necessarily need to vote on anything here. It sounds like everyone's in agreement of supporting the project, and I think we're all willing to write and sign a letter of support to submit with the grant application. So this is great, Carrie. I think there's a lot of opportunity here, both for an educational standpoint and to, make sure residents in town are aware of all the resources we have and to take advantage of. So thank you.
Well, thanks. I appreciate the support. I think the applications are due in early October, so we've got about a month to get that in. If you guys write a letter of support, you can send it straight to Jim, CPC, and keep our fingers crossed.
Sounds good. Thanks, Carrie.
Cool. Thanks, Carrie.
Melissa, I'll happily hand the reins back over to you if you're ready to take over.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks, Matt. Thank you guys for kicking it off.
So I think where we left, well, you know where we left. We've got a couple of work session items outstanding we haven't gotten to yet. We did hit number 5, so we combined that with the enforcement order discussion. So we could skip over that, and it's well past 7:15. So I'll leave it up to you if you want to go into hearings or work session.
Okay. Yeah, let's jump up to hearings. So with that, we have Ravenwood LLC continuation for the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. Do we have anyone on the call representing this project? I know we were close last time. No. Okay, Joe, I think I'm going to turn to you to see where we're at as far as your outstanding comments and how they address them.
Yeah, I did meet with the Goddard consultant out at the site. We reviewed all the changes that I had suggested, made those changes, and all of the changes were made. So I don't have. I think all of my comments have been addressed. I think the plan looks good as it is.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, I think that's all we were looking for last time around, was to clean up those comments that you had. So does anyone else, I'm good with it. Does anyone else have any questions or comments on this delineation?
If Joe's good, I'm good.
Okay. Anyone from the public? Nope. Great. Go ahead and can I get a motion to approve this abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for Ravenwood?
So moved.
Yeah, and I'll amend that motion with signatures by Judy or Anna and seconded.
Thanks, Matt.
Matt?
All in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
Matt, Matt,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye.
I got that.
All right, we can finally put that one to bed. Good. Next up, we have, all right, Hopkins Trails continued. So we're on to 16 Lakeshore Drive, notice of intent continuation. It's a retaining wall. Judy, can you give us an update and overview on where we're at with this one?
Sure, through the chair. So we do have an updated site plan and narrative for this project. Dave sent over a narrative and a discussion around the performance standards as requested by Joe. A second planting area was added to the plans. So the commission had expressed that they wanted to see more of a vegetated buffer across the lakefront. This secondary area was added down here. This is the area that had already been on the plans. The bordering land subject to flooding boundary was drawn onto the plans as well. So that is shown by this kind of bolded line here. I'm not seeing the buffer zone on here, but it might be off property. And then there is still open discussion around hydric soils found atop the wall and whether that qualifies as BVW. So I think Joe has a little bit more insight into that.
Okay. Yeah, Joe, can you jump in with your thoughts and comments?
Yeah, I think vast majority of our comments were addressed. There are a couple of outstanding items. As Judy had mentioned, there was a question on hydric soil upgradient of the retaining wall. Looking at the plan, it looks like they now have an area highlighted with an arrow saying limit of hydric soils, and then in parentheses, not BVW. And I know it's a mowed area with low grass. There was no explanation or discussion submitted that I saw as far as why they were not considering it BVW with the hydric soils. So it may be because there was insufficient vegetation or low vegetation, but it's not clear. So I was recommending that they provide some additional information on why they're considering it non-BVW with the hydric soils being present. Let's see. You had a question on originally on abutter notifications. There was no evidence of the mailing submitted in the information reviewed. I assume that they submitted that, but it was still not in any of the information that was submitted in the revised materials. They didn't respond directly to our previous comments, so I had to kind of go through the plans and the documents and pick out what was addressed. So I don't know if you want me to get into all the items that were addressed or just the ones that weren't, I guess.
Yeah, I think just the ones that weren't.
Yeah. So they did say that they would be filing a Chapter 91, recommending that the commission be copied on that. They have revised the plan, as Judy mentioned, to show the revised flood elevation and buffer zone. However, they have it labeled as a flood zone A. It should be flood zone AE to be correct, because it does have a base flood elevation associated with it. Recommended that the plan just be revised to show that. There's also a comment that they will be accessing the site from the adjacent parcel, which I believe is town of Hopkinton parcel, and just want to make sure that they get all the permits and permissions they need to access it from the town parcel. They had noted that the work would be done during lake drawdown, low water. And I would recommend that the project be conditioned to require that. As Judy had talked about, they now have 2 planting areas. They've totaling about 195 square feet, with a number of native plants proposed. I think the plants are appropriate for the site. The planting plan or the planting notes do not include the scientific names of the plants. I would recommend that those be added just to avoid any confusion, and that a note be added that no cultivars are to be used. And there was a comment on the wall functioning as a PIB. We had noted that the commission should discuss that. And also DEP had provided a comment requesting that they be copied on all revisions, and just making sure that I'm not aware that DEP was copied, just making sure that they should be copied. I think that pretty much covers my comments.
Okay. And Joe, on the FEMA flood line, you mentioned the comment to change it from A to AE to reflect that properly. Otherwise, is the line drawn?
It appears, yes,
okay.
It appears to be drawn correctly at the correct elevation. The plan is on a vertical, not the same vertical datum as the FEMA flood elevation. So they have a corrected, they have a note on the correction and what it corresponds to. And it looks like it's drawn in at where that, close to where that should be. I imagine there was some calculations done between the contours to figure out where it goes, but it does look to be in the correct location.
Okay. Great, thanks. Do we have the homeowner on the line here, or Dave, you're representing?
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, Steve Dana is on the call as well.
Okay.
We can make those changes in the plantings to the scientific, to include the scientific name. We can change the wording on the flood. The flood zone is accurate. The plantings, it's glad to hear that we're okay with the type of plants. Prior to this, we had just the high bush blueberries, so we're now sort of in keeping with what we think the board is looking for. The buffer zone to that flood zone is across the street, and there are no trees to be cut. We feel that the wall could act as the PIB. They've done that in the past. We thought that we could follow through with that same type understanding. And Steve Dana has had discussions with the town of Hopkins, and he could clarify that. But we do have permission to utilize that piece. We are intending to put down plywood anytime we're going to travel across that little strip. Steve Dana maintains that property, the town of Hopkins piece, so it's in his best interest to keep it plush. And yes, we can make these changes relatively soon. Scott Heim, who couldn't be here today, on August 14th, went out and evaluated the BVW, the hydric soils. I thought he would address that in his letter. We'll get some clarification on that for the next meeting. It's his understanding that it is not BVW. There was evidence of hydric soils, but not BVW. So that was under his instructions to label it as such. But we'll get that in writing.
Okay, yeah, I think that would be helpful for our understanding. Make sure we're on the same page. Couple things. So the proposed plantings for the buffer strip that we talked about, which is right here on the plan on the screen. You know, the purpose and what we like to see is to have that buffer along as much of the pond frontage as we can. So I guess in my mind, when we ask for that, you know, the commission's desire would be to carry that across, you know, all the way to the dock, obviously leaving room for someone to access the water to get into the dock and into the water, but there's still a significant portion of that lakefront frontage that is open to, you know, lawn and runoff, making its way straight in there. So my question would be, can we expand that filter strip that we're looking for further along the pond line?
And Melissa, before we get an answer, I was looking, Dave, and I was trying to find somewhere on the plan some measurements. I was first looking to see what the gap was, but what's the width of those planting strips?
5 feet.
5 feet. Okay, so that sounds good, but I am completely with Melissa on extending along the shoreline. And I don't remember if it was this property when we met recently, but I asked Judy to flash up the graphic we sometimes show, because the path to the dock is important, but it's also important that it's a bit of a curved path. So there's not a straight line from lawn to the dock. And I would love to see that incorporated as well.
Yeah, we had discussed this at length with the property owner, and it was his desire to go a little bit thicker on the width of the planting bed. It doesn't leave a lot of room between his house and the lake. He has a very small front yard, so all his activity is in the backyard. The lake is important to him, and Steve's on the call. It was the area that we're talking about is about an additional 18 and 19 feet between the edge of the dock and the section of plantings we're proposing to the south, north being up the page. And it was just, it's kind of it's a personal thing for the homeowner. He understands, he's all about preservation. He's just trying to, he did what he thought was in the best interest of the lake and his property. So he was trying to meet the commission halfway with their request. And that's kind of how we got to the 2 areas that currently show in the plan.
Yeah. No, I understand that this isn't you know, we're not rebuilding a house or anything. We're rebuilding a wall. But it is.
Melissa?
Yes.
I am not one to redesign a plan, but I, for one, would be happy in the more, is this a north-south orientation? If it is, the more northerly L-shaped planting, I'd be happy to give back some backyard for the long end and move that over to lakefront. It would be, you know, a zero-sum gain of lawn space, but it would be much more protective of the lake.
Mhm.
Can I speak?
Yes, you may, absolutely.
Thank you. You know, I've lived here for 8 years, and like Dave said, I'm a strong proponent of lake health and an active member in the LMPA as well. And the lake health is very important to me. Ted, that little leg that you have coming across, and it just leads to up the easement that's there. The town does own that easement. There are no plantings. There is nothing there. I am more than willing to sort of, I don't know if it's north, south, either. I'm not a very good Boy Scout, but to bring those to where the town property is, that's not my responsibility, but I would be willing to do that as well as part of this, to bring, I think there's about 18 feet of buffering, some type of buffer there with these type of plants that we're talking about, the tall blueberries, and sort of continue that on where it's not on my property, but it would be something that I've listened to the commission talk about this as something that's important to you. It's also important to me to enjoy the lake, to have my grandchildren over. A lot of this, the planting is a little excessive, to coming into my yard, I guess. I wouldn't, it'd be my house, and then we would be plants, and then, run through them and get to the lake. So I'd be more than willing to do that at my expense to sort of continue that on. If you, I can't move the drawing down a little bit, but that where the town right of way is right now, there is nothing there except grass that goes into the lake. This would be something that we could build, something nice in there, and have. There we go. Where it says existing loose stones and rocks, that would be some nice planting that we can continue to do, as well as trying to. I think, Ted, what you were saying is that the long part versus the short part, what looks like kind of like an L or a number 7. This would run into another bunch of hostas and some other stuff that's been existing there for as long as I've lived there. All this stuff that's there has been there since I've been there. None of this been planted or cut or anything since I've been there.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Melissa?
Yeah, go ahead, Ted.
So I hope we can stay friendly, because I believe you love the lake. The difficulty I have is we as a commission have been really trying to establish this planting buffer as a norm. And if we back off of that, I don't know how firm a leg we have to stand on when the next applicant comes and the next applicant. I have a question for, I'm not sure who, maybe it's Joe, maybe it's Judy. We love the plantings. I understand what you're trying to do. Is there, short of plantings, some sort of French drain with gravel that could live between grass and wall and lake that might perform some of the function of the plantings that we're hoping for? Is there anything like that as a compromise situation that anyone knows of?
I don't know, but I can look into it. But I can't give you an answer right now.
Yeah, likewise. The only thing I could think of potentially would be something like a rain garden type construction. It's kind of a linear shape along the wall that could possibly be put in there, but I don't know how that would impact the functioning of the wall if there would be an issue with that.
I guess for me, I'll leave that question open. I am very nervous about backing off on what we've been trying to establish to protect the lake. As much as I'm sympathetic to you, Steve.
Well, I appreciate that, Ted. Just that it's, and I'm cool with, with something reasonable. I'm cool, and that's why I try to come up with something that would still allow me to use my backyard a little bit, and satisfy the committee's request. I mean, we got stuff's going up and down the lake. I'm the only one that would have any of this, plantings or any of this sort of stuff all the way to the end of Lakeshore, or from the beginning to the end. There is nobody else that has any plantings or anything else that's going on down here. All I know is the existing wall right now is terrible. I really would like to replace it, because I think it would be a very positive thing for the lake and the lake's health. This wall was never built right, but that's nothing for me to do. It's been there for the last 65 years. So I'm trying to make it right.
Yeah. And if I may, I believe that what you're saying about your neighbors, but that's part of the reason it's become a priority for us, because this has not been the norm around the lake, and we think that it's resulted in negative impacts on the lake. So I don't know. I'm a little stuck. I'll be quiet now.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
Yeah, I'm going to try and tread in here. What is the distance between, as in the plan right now, between what I'll call the northerly garden and the southerly garden that fronts on the lake? How many feet is that?
I think it's 49, a little under 49.
If we,
you mean the gap, Ed? I'm sorry, the gap between there. I think it's under 50. Maybe it's under 12 feet.
I thought I heard Joe Marquardon say 18, but maybe he said he was talking about something else.
No, it's this is Dave. It's
Dave.
it's
I'm sorry, Dave. I got you confused. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's about 18, 19 feet from the edge of the opening for the dock, going southerly to the other. The southern one is 18, 19 feet.
So, and further in the spirit of compromise, if we squeeze that some, would that be something, Steve, that you could live with?
I'm not sure. I'd have to sort of look. This one, I kind of staked it out a little bit just to see what was left after we're all done. It's a lot for us to give up. It's a lot. And I'm in the spirit of compromise all over the place. And I thought maybe where the town's part of it, has nothing right now, and we're doing all this buffering and trying to make everything right. But the part that the town owns has all the drainage issues, has all the other stuff. This would be a very positive impact. And again, at my expense, in the spirit of trying to meet everybody and continue on future endeavors, that this is a very positive thing for the lake health and for my project as well.
And then sorry. So if you do indeed plant in the margin there of the town's right of way, how many feet would that be?
And correct me, Dave, if I'm wrong. I think it's about 20.
Through the chair, I'm
Yes.
a little hesitant to entertain plantings on town property just because we don't know what that easement's for. And I'm not exactly sure who owns or maintains it. So
I maintain it.
yeah, I'm sure, but I don't want to give you, for you to get permission to plant on it, and DPW says we need to mow all this down to get boats, for whatever reason. I don't know what it's there for. So without having had those conversations, I'm a little hesitant to
Yeah, Judy, I'm flipping through the pictures right now. I don't know if you can pull one up. 9877 is a good one. It looks like it's just the catch basin from the street and the drain pipe. But I agree with you. It's something that would need to be reviewed with DPW, but it does. You can kind of scroll through. I think the one before that too, you can see it is grass right up to the water. It wouldn't be it would be an improvement. It's obviously lawn right there in that easement all the way down to the water as well. It's a straight shot.
Look at how nice I mow that.
Nice green grass. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe this is something, obviously there's a few things that need to be cleaned up on the plans anyway. Joe's comments that Dave's going to address. I don't think we're closing this tonight. Maybe that's something that we can talk to DPW about, or you can talk to DPW about, Dave and Steve.
Sure.
See if that's something that we can entertain, see what that easement's for. I Actually, Judy, if you go to 9889, picture 9889. Yeah, I was thinking it was more rock, but it's really not. It's mostly grass all the way there
Yeah, there's no rock. There's
to the edge.
just that sea wall. If you want another retaining wall, if you would.
Yeah.
When the first pipe that was there a few years ago was like earthen, it cracked and created a gigantic sinkhole. They had to kind of dig up the whole thing and put this new pipe in. The other previous DPW, not Carrie, but the guy she replaced, he explained to me there's a pond that's on Beach Street that gets some relief from this as well. It drains into the culverts. I don't really know, but that's what it's for.
So yeah, I think if you can kind of take another look and consider the thoughts from the commission and what we're trying to do, that would be appreciated before the next meeting.
Melissa,
yeah, go ahead, Ted.
I was just going to say, since I was the most vocal sticking point, I do worry about precedent, but this would, if DPW, if the town says, yeah, we'll put some plantings there, that to me gives the commission a firmer leg to stand on when the next applicant comes and doesn't want to do the plantings, because it's similar to mitigation we ask other applicants to do if there are places where we're concerned. If Steve, you can get permission from the town, that to me I feel on firmer ground, allowing the plan on your property exactly the way you have it, feeling okay.
Okay, I'll do my best.
And I concur.
Yeah, I think the other thing with this particular application too is that it's not increasing impervious area. It's replacing the existing wall, and there are improvements in mitigation that's being offered. So that's helpful too, as opposed to a plan that's coming in front of us where it's expanding the building, putting in a patio, adding more impervious area. So
Yeah, Melissa.
Yep.
I would adamantly second that. I understand the precedent discussion, but we're not talking about a new project here. We're talking about a replacement of a wall that's beginning to fail that could result in erosion and sediment getting put into the lake, and they're offering up mitigation. So if anything, it would feel to me like we're setting a precedent that even when you're just doing a maintenance exercise, we're going to expect some type of planting to help protect the lake and the greater goals of this commission. So I get what you're saying, Ted, wholeheartedly, and I agree. Like, the more plantings, the better, no doubt about that. But in this particular case, where it's a replacement of an existing retaining wall in kind, and we're getting, looks like, what, I don't know, at least a couple hundred, if not 300 feet of plantings where it's all lawn right now, I think those are positives. And I think it's not necessarily precedent setting across the board, but just in a situation where you're dealing with a lakefront maintenance issue, not a new project. I think that's a helpful distinction to keep in mind for us. Just my 2 cents. I don't want to be contrarian, but those are just my feelings on it.
Yeah. Okay. And then I do think, so we talked about the wall is a PIB. So that's not called out on the plan currently, right? That's a question.
No, I think there's a note on the plan. Yeah, note number 18. The proposed retaining wall will act as the PIB.
Okay. Okay.
Melissa, when we've done that in the past with the PIBs being the wall, have we, has it just been the wall as is, or have we done like placards, like cast into the wall or anything like that? Just curious. I haven't been around long enough to know.
Yeah, no, it's a good question because I think in the past we would just identify the wall, but more recently we've found that or we've been trying to kind of double up and put the actual placard somewhere so that people when you're in on the site without a plan in front of you, you can recognize it.
Yeah.
What's PIB mean?
That's a great question.
Yeah, it should probably be spelled out there. Permanent immovable barrier. And what that is supposed to be is the line in the sand of where the conservation, we kind of agree that there's no work beyond this limit, no maintenance, no, this is the conservation area that shouldn't be maintained or touched by the homeowner or anyone on the site.
Is that just during when they're building it, or?
No, it's after.
Oh.
So it's supposed to be on there so future homeowners also realize that, this is an environmentally sensitive area. You need to go to the commission if you want to do anything, in that area. Don't mow, don't throw yard clippings, things like that. It's a little
Sounds crazy.
It's a little quirky when it's on the lakefront like this. Like usually it's more, you have the tree line in someone's backyard, and then beyond it is the buffer and the wetlands. So you put them on the trees, like you put the medallions on the trees so that, it's a marker. Don't,
oh yeah.
don't throw your yard waste back there. Don't cut down the trees. Don't,
we get some big water back there.
Yeah. Yes.
Steve, I'm happy to tell you that I would be okay without medallions on the wall. I think it's a pretty obvious, and we do have it on the plan in case anything comes up. And I'm a stickler for these things. I'm all about PIB markers in this case.
Thanks, Ted. Appreciate that.
I will be on your side for this one whole.
Thank you.
I feel like the wall is pretty obvious. I like that it's on the plans, so we have it there officially. I don't feel the need to put plastic markers on the wall.
Yep. Okay.
I don't mean to speak for everyone else, but that's where I land.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
No, I'm with you, Ted.
Don't be mad at me, Dave, that I didn't know that.
Now you know. Tell your friends.
I'm gonna have them over tomorrow. Big cookout.
Yep. All right, so I think
Melissa, I'm sorry to slow us down.
No, it's okay.
I thought, and maybe it happened and I missed it. I thought that Joe Orzel had a question about the note that says limit of hydric soils, not BVW. And I'm not sure if Dave Marquardt answered Joe's question, but maybe I missed it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you did, Dave, but go ahead.
Yep. I had thought that Scott Heim, when he went out there on the 14th, was going to address that in his latest memo to Joe and to the commission. He had not.
Okay.
I was there with him, and it was his opinion that it is not VVW, but we'll have Scott address that in a memo prior to the next hearing.
Okay. Sorry that I made us rehash that.
It's okay. Anybody else have anything? Steve and Dave, you good?
Yep.
I got my homework.
Okay, great. All right, then can I get a motion to continue this to the next hearing?
This is that. I'll make that motion.
Do you have something, Dave?
Yeah. Can we move that to October 7th? You're meeting like the 26th, is that right?
Yes. Yep, we can do October
23rd, but September 23rd and then October 7th are the next two.
Of October 7th?
Yeah. That's the first one in October. Yep.
Thank you.
So is Ed's motion to continue to October 7?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I will second Ed's motion.
All right. All in favor. Ed? Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And Jim? I think you said aye, Jim, right?
I did,
Okay.
you hear me?
And I'm also an aye.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. All right, next up, we have 47 Oakhurst. This is a continuation or a notice of intent.
Hi, everyone. You have Andrew Tebow with Goddard on Zoom.
Andrew, you want to go ahead and let us know what you got here for an update?
Yeah. Do you guys mind if I steal the screen sharing? I have a couple different visuals to flip back and forth between, so if that's easiest, I can take it over.
That's fine with me, Judy.
Let me just give you permission.
Thank you.
All set.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Does this come up okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just for context, what we're looking at here is the original plan that was submitted. I have both the original and the new plan just to talk through some of the changes. So to recap sort of where we are now in our review process with the commission, we had submitted revised materials on August 26th. So that was a pretty substantial supplemental submittal. It included a full response letter to the third round of peer review comments issued to us by Lucas. It included a revised site plan. It included an updated mitigation planting plan that's largely the same, but it was over the revised site plan for consistency. And then we had submitted a new waiver request form. And the largest of the new submittals within that packet was the submission of a full waiver request narrative. So at our last hearing with the commission, which would have been 2 meetings ago now, we have sort of been reviewing the encroachment of this project into the 50-foot no-build zone. And we were having some conversation about the existing conditions of the site, how we felt that the substantial mitigation plan and stormwater management had met the intentions of the bylaw, but it would require a waiver for the work. And it was asked of us to submit a full narrative sort of detailing that position, explaining compliance with the bylaw in greater detail. And then we had also had the discussion that it seemed that in previous submittals for projects in this case, where precedent may have been set that we would look at the existing encroachments into the 50, but that the intention would not be to permit new ones closer to the lake. And so since that meeting, we had gotten together as a team and we had made a few revisions to the project to get that done here. So first and foremost, the easiest revision to the plans was that FEMA had updated the floodplain maps for this area back in July. And so it was asked to just update the floodplain on the property and to show the bylaw buffers that come from that. So the new FEMA flood zone that we see on this property, with the chosen flood elevation, is shown here in red. And we have now added both the bylaw buffers to the floodplain and the still showing the bylaw buffers to the bank where we've been discussing this project around. So that was sort of just the easy plan revision. And then the mitigation planting plan has remained the same. Prior to the last iteration of the mitigation plan, we had removed the last species that didn't seem to show up as native in either of the 2 GoBotany pages that we were using. So the planting plan is still the same. It proposes 91 native plantings. It's 56 shrubs and 35 plugs throughout the property as our mitigation. So that all remains the same. What has been changed in this submittal is the footprint of the house. And so as part of the waiver request narrative that we had submitted, part of that was detailing compliance with the bylaw. but another portion of it was explaining that we had been discussing the precedent set by the commission and that the intent would not be to encroach further than the existing conditions. So what we did is we took a look at the existing conditions of the property, and we found it can be a little bit difficult to see, so bear with me, I'll do my best to explain it. The polygon that we show in orange, this is the old plan that we discussed at the last meeting, shows the current the proposed footprint of the new house, and interior of this orange line, the polygon that we see here, is the existing dwelling. So we analyzed this to see where our existing encroachments into the 50-foot are, and we found that although the existing dwelling itself was primarily outside, it had a deck that's within the 50, and this deck is under over a concrete patio, so it's fully impervious underneath. So our limit of impervious development into that 50 was at the deck that we see here. So there was a bit of an existing encroachment into the 50 at present, but it seems like the intent would be that that should not be extended vertically closer to the lake and only laterally if the commission was to grant that waiver. And so we had found that in reviewing the architectural plans that we have, we could trim 2 feet off the back of the house without really changing anything majorly concerning about the project. The applicants are still able to achieve their intended design to build their new house, but we can just trim 2 feet without having to change the layout of the house, change anything with stormwater, and it would just reduce the square footage a little bit. And so what we did is we actually pulled the corner of the house over here to the edge of that 50-foot buffer to inland bank, and then we extended it laterally across where there is existing encroachment with that deck. So this was a slight reduction in both the square footage of the house and the linear footage from the lake. We pulled it back 2 feet, so we're now about 43 feet away at closest. We also modified the deck. So originally, the deck itself was proposed to be over a pad, which would be impervious. And so we have now proposed this to be on helical piers, where we won't be changing the substrate of what's below it. So what we see here is the existing hardscape that's on the lot. Everything outside of that is currently lawn. So the idea is that we're not going to modify anything below the deck now. We will maintain lawn in the areas where it's existing lawn, and we'll maintain the hardscape below it where it's existing hardscape, and allow us just to pull back the scope a little bit. The major submittal that we had incorporated with this, as I had mentioned, was the waiver request narrative, where we had really explained the intention of the project design, the bylaw. And so I'm sure the commission's read it, so to spare you, I'll give sort of the brief outline of what we intended with that submittal. The idea was to take a look at the bylaw in the way that the 50-foot no-build zone is described, and then read the remainder of the intentions of the bylaw and sort of review that in tandem with the intention that we need to provide mitigation here. We don't want to set precedent for projects like this. And so the waiver request had outlined that in reading it, the bylaw seems to interpret the 50-foot no-build zone as an undeveloped area. So the way it's written seems to be that when a property is undeveloped, these are the sort of criteria, the functions and values that the 50-foot should be held to maintain throughout a project. And so we had explained that at present, this is of course not the case here. So the bylaw uses the term that's called the pre-existing characteristics of the project site. And so we had outlined in a greater level of detail than the original notice of intent had, that the pre-existing conditions of this site are such that we have an existing single-family house. Stormwater is not managed at present because it predates any sort of stormwater management standards, and we have primarily lawn and hardscape to the bank of the lake. And so that waiver request narrative was submitted to sort of explain that we feel that the intention of the bylaw is to protect that the 25-foot no disturb to 50-foot no build from undeveloped areas to bolster both the wildlife habitat of the buffer zone as well as the functions of the resource area itself. And because those are not fully functioning at present as a fully developed buffer zone, we took the position that installing 91 mitigation plantings on the single-family house lot with the intention of the majority to be along the bank and to really cut off and remove that lawn from the bank, as well as providing full stormwater management. When you work in tandem with pulling the house further out of the 50, we felt that this was a significant improvement to the project and something that was more consistent with the intent of the bylaw. So that was submitted on August 26th. I know we received the fourth peer review letter from Lucas today. It was this afternoon, so I looked through it very briefly. From what I can tell, and I will certainly let Joe speak to it, so I don't speak for him. Most of the comments seem to be addressed or acknowledged. I know there was a comment in there about a few of the plantings and sort of showing up as native on one database, not on another. So we have that to go through still, but it seems like most of those comments have been addressed, and the intention now is to, one, continue to work with Lucas to make sure we address all their comments, and two, to review this updated, slightly scaled back version with the commission to see that we can try to bring this to something where the homeowner is still able to achieve the project in the design that they're looking for, but sort of make agreements and provide mitigation where possible and find a design that works for both sides. So that was what was included in the August 26th submittal, and I'm happy to discuss any component of that.
Okay. All right, thank you for that summary. Judy, can you pull that, what was just up on the screen back up there? I know it was Andrew who had it, but.
And I can pull anything back up that you guys want me to see. I can't see the commission when I have my screen up, so I was just pulling it up to talk, but let me know if there's anything you guys want to see and I'll pull it back up.
Yeah.
I don't think I have that exact visual, but this is the most updated plan set here.
I think you do have that visual, Judy, because I think I'm looking at it on my iPad.
You do.
I think it was in the
It's in the
material.
letter, though. It's in the
Yeah,
it's the materials.
Aha, you're right.
Oh. Okay.
There we go.
We had our best artwork interior to the application.
Yeah. Okay, so going to the rationale on work in the buffer zone and how that's interpreted. And you're right up there. I do, agree in most cases you're looking at an undisturbed buffer area, and it's of significance to protect the resource area. The commission, keeping that intact is the best way to protect the resource area. I guess my thought on that for this particular site is I'm looking at it, the pink existing hardscape to remain. That area we never permitted that, right? That's being permitted through this application right now. So even though that area, aside from the building, not talking about the building, but talking about the hardscape, the existing patio that was previously existing versus the pink, what I'm going to call, new hardscape area to remain. That is a change within that 50-foot buffer zone that we're being asked.
Correct. Yeah, there was a patio within this previously, but it was in a portion of the hardscape that you see here, and there was a shed, but much of this, you're right, is included as after the fact.
Okay. So we are indeed, looking at a different condition in my mind here. That warrants, well, I guess first off, do we approve it, and to, mitigation for whether that would be why we would allow it in the buffers if, potentially there's some mitigation that offsets and protects the resource area in that buffer zone area. And if we're okay with that. I can't believe we didn't quite get the house out of the 50. There's just still a sliver in there.
We are trying. I know it's the orientation of it, because if we shift it in either direction, you would cause the other one to bump in a little bit. So we took what's there currently and we tried to just extend it laterally. And I would remind the commission, the attempt is being made here. I know we've discussed this at length, but I know we go a long time in between meetings at times. So it is important to just remind and discuss that before we even filed with the commission, they received ZBA approval to bump up the front yard setback by an additional 10 feet. They relocated a utility pole to do that. So the intent is absolutely to shift this up as far as possible. It's a very tight lot where, as the commission can see, that 50 foot's right in the middle of it. So the house that's there now is very modest in size, and most architectural designs push into the 50. So we're trying to limit it to the extent feasible. And we completely understand the commissions. We know we're requesting after the fact patio work, and that's why, or a major reason why, this includes both a substantial mitigation plan and full stormwater management. So we have 91 mitigation plantings, which I think is the most I've ever proposed on a single family house lot below a quarter of an acre. I do think it's a significant addition to what's there now, and certainly provides an improvement over existing conditions. And I would clarify that the drywall units are sized for all of the impervious surfaces on the site and not just the dwelling itself. So they use the full, it's about 4,000 square feet. They simulated an inch of runoff. So the drywalls are sized to make sure that they are including that entire patio and hardscape under the stormwater management plan. So I think the commission's aware of that, just things that get discussed in one meeting and are important to continue to discuss.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, because these do go on for a while and you forget details.
Definitely.
So just because they're sized for that flow, does the hardscape area actually get to those infiltration units?
So in this case, it would not. So they're sized to end up in a net reduction of runoff and volume leaving the property. So they are tied to the driveway and the gutter systems. So it will, in effect, remove and store the same amount of stormwater to make sure that nothing else ends in a net increase. But the property is pitched where runoff itself from the hardscape or areas like this would still slowly percolate towards the lake, which is why it is important to have that native buffer rather than lawn all the way up to the edge.
And then going back to the house, I think in our last meeting, Matt had asked just for justification why it needs to be as big as it is. Did you provide that? Do we have some rationale for, especially being that we are still in the 50?
Sure. So I know, to my best memory, when we were discussing, it was, and I could be wrong about this, I was under the impression we were asked to explain why it needs to encroach into the 50. And so that was the intent of that waiver request letter, to explain, how we look at the site, the existing conditions of the site, how extending laterally with this bit of reduction would meet the intentions of the bylaw. There wasn't a sort of blurb exactly on why it needs to be sized how it is, but the remainder of that was in that waiver request letter.
Yeah, Melissa. Yeah. What I was looking for was justification for why the proposed house and proposed deck should be permitted by the commission within that 50-foot no build. We talked a lot about the dwelling so far. I haven't heard much about the deck, which continues to extend well into that 50-foot no build. So I don't know, Andrew, if there's anything you could share to help us understand why that needs to extend so far into the 50-foot.
Yes, so the deck was modified as well. So originally it was proposed to be over a pad, and it would have been, in the commission's eyes, an additional intrusion into the 50. So in this plan, we had modified the deck, and we had added a note that you would see as an arrow in like the bottom portion of the graphic that's on Judy's screen right now, and it says deck on helical piers. So the intent now is to modify the deck so that it's not changing any of the surfaces on the lot at present. So it's just going to be on those piers now, where all the areas where it's lawn, it's going to be lawn beneath the deck at present. The deck will extend over portions that are already the hardscape patio at present. And so the intent is not to change any of that pervious versus impervious surface or create any new runoff from the deck. So we had thought that this revision would result in a significant improvement over the previous that would have been more of an impervious encroachment into that 50.
Thank you. That's helpful to understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Melissa, from my perspective, with the understanding that we have some discretion on what we allow, do not allow within the 50-foot no build, If it was just the house and the deck, I don't think I'd have much heartache about it or heartburn about it. But looking at the whole picture, I think is what at least for me, is the challenge, right? We have this massive patio that was unpermitted in addition to what's being proposed for a house and a deck. And I think for at least for me, that's where the challenge lies. If it was just the house and the deck, I think it'd be in a pretty good place given the justification that was provided. So just wanted to put that out there for consideration from everyone.
Yeah. No, that's kind of that's what I'm struggling with too, Matt. Does anyone else have thoughts or questions, comments on the commission?
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
We keep hearing hardscape, 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 and maybe it's been stated and I missed it, but exactly what are we talking about?
Yeah, I know I don't have screen share capabilities, but I can at least explain that. So the hardscape that we're describing is sort of the outside of the dwelling and the deck itself, the remainder of the impervious surfaces that are proposed by the project. Thank you. Those pictures are helpful. So it's a large patio space. There is some fireplace and a shed, a couple sheds. So it's all the areas that would qualify as impervious that are beyond the.
Andrew, yeah, I get all that. Well, I wanted to know what this hardscape was. What is it? Cobblestones? Is it pavers, or is it what it looks to be like poured concrete?
Oh yes, good question. So I think we discussed this during a previous meeting, but if I hadn't made that clear, I apologize. It's travertine stone, which is like a more porous sedimentary rock. So it's used for patios a lot because we still consider it impervious. I don't want to make the claim to the commission that it's a like a pervious paver, but because it's a more porous rock substance, it wicks water better, and so you see a reduced rate of runoff compared to if you just poured concrete back there. So it's a stone like that that's meant to provide some ability to wick water from patios. And then of course the sheds themselves it's an impervious roof. And I'm hearing a couple of questions of the commission just sparked a thought for me that I'll jump in on. I understand the commission's position, and our intention is certainly to work with the commission. We've had no problems revising mitigation plans, discussing back and forth, and the intention is certainly to work with the commission. We know that we're requesting after the fact approval. It seems like at least the idea that the dwelling within the 50 is being minimized is reasonable. If there are things that we can do with this hardscape patio area to alleviate some of those concerns, I think we're also open to that discussion as well. I know the question about where the stormwater management systems actually take water from is a good one. If the implementation of some stormwater management strategies around the existing patio to manage additional water, things of that nature, might help alleviate more concerns. I think we're open to discussing that as a team as well. The intention is certainly to work with you guys and come up with a plan that does actually end up in a net benefit for this area. So I'm not putting words in your mouth. If that's something that is beneficial, or if the commission has other ideas, we're certainly open to hearing them.
Through the chair.
Yes, Ted.
I think what I'm struggling with is it's a net benefit over what has been done without approval. I don't know that if this plan came to us with none of that hardscape in place, if we'd be talking about how adding all the pink would be a net benefit, right? It's a net benefit of the problem that exists. My problem is the pink. My problem is none of that is permitted, as I understand it. And I can't imagine that we ever would have permitted it, ever, that extent of patio, not just in the 50, in the 25, the closest to the lake. What is that, 5 feet that we have deck going next to the lake there at the southern part? Building a drainage system for a patio that is that intrusive into what we are supposed to protect, it still leaves a patio in what we're supposed to protect. And I'm really, really, really struggling with being asked to approve after the fact all of that pink on the plan, whether there's drainage or not.
Mhm.
And that's a fair question, and I understand that response. Part of why we are saying that we feel that it's a net improvement, I do agree that of course we are requesting a full patio after the fact. Before this was a patio, it was pre-existing lawn, and so of course drainage concerns are sort of the major thing that comes with the conversion of lawn space to patio space. But the way we had looked at this was pre-existing lawn before the Wetlands Protection Act and local bylaw down to the edge of the lake. So it was sort of a lawfully existing limit of lawn. And so whether it was lawn or patio, it certainly changes the drainage characteristics of the site. But the remainder, so like the wildlife habitat benefits of the site, things like that, were little to none regardless of the surface material that was there. And that's sort of what we're looking at here. So the stormwater management is implemented from the drainage side of things, but the 91 mitigation plantings are attempting to look at an area that if this patio wasn't here, it was still all lawn. It's been maintained for a long time, introducing a full native schedule to the property. The way I look at it is still a benefit in either condition, and that's the attempt behind the mitigation plan, at least at that side of things.
Yeah. I think, this is the flip side of the one that we saw before. That was just in front of us before, where, yeah, maybe it used to be grass, but we're being asked to significantly change the entire surface cover of the site. So we need to really make an improvement here to consider what's being presented. I mean, we got our DEP comments as well that also ask for or suggest looking for putting in natural vegetation, in the area in front of the lake. I think, you have that could definitely be, you talk about 96 plantings, but 96 plantings compared to the area that's being taken up by the existing hardscape or the, created hardscape, plus the increase in the size of the building, makes that number not sound quite as big. I don't think that offsets what's being proposed here. So, yeah, I would say, I think we need to go back and need to review it a little bit more before I'd be comfortable making a decision on this.
Sure, and we understand that, and I would add that the intention is still to continue this meeting. So we had our fourth letter come in from Lucas today. There's a few more things that we, regardless, would need to respond to and make sure that we're addressing. The bulk of the conversation at the last meeting was centered around the proposed dwelling, and we had submitted some materials on that to do what we can. Hearing the concerns now over the patio, the hardscape, that conversation, I think it's very reasonable for us to then take those comments from the commission and go back and discuss it with the applicant, because there's going to be new materials coming to Lucas anyways. I think that can then certainly be addressed, and we definitely understand your comments. So I think we can definitely discuss and address that.
Okay. Joe, did you want to highlight any particular comments at this point? Anything that was jumping out?
I don't really think so. I think really the discussion has covered pretty much in anything that I had commented on for the most part.
Okay.
I don't think I need to go over any of those again at this point.
Okay. And Judy, is there anything that we're leaving out here or that comes to your mind that you want to bring up?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
I have a question for Joe, which he may or may not be able to answer,
Okay.
but I'll ask anyway.
Yeah.
If you were to compare, I guess, the drainage of this patio made of this material versus that same area if it were just grass, can you give any sort of, like, this has 10% more runoff than grass, or this has no more runoff than grass? Can you give anything like that?
I couldn't put a number on it. It certainly is going to have a lot more runoff than grass. I would imagine. I mean, there's maybe a minimal amount of absorption by the travertine, but I don't know those numbers, so I really can't address that with any specificity.
Yeah, it's an out of the right wing sort of question. I'm sorry, but I'm struggling with this, and I'm just trying to understand how it works. Thank you.
And through the chair, Ed, if it's helpful, because obviously my expertise is more vegetation, wetland science. I'm happy to find the specs for this material and provide it to the commission, knowing that there's revised materials coming. I don't know that it will be a substantive sort of a stormwater report style, but I think even just giving you guys more information on the material might just help that conversation a little bit. So we can include that in our revised materials just to provide as much information as possible on it.
Yeah, sure, you can do that. It's fine.
Thank you.
Does anyone from the audience have any questions or comments? No. Okay. Andrew, would you like to continue this out to our September 23rd or our October 7th meeting?
I think for now we'll go with just one meeting to September, with the intention of submitting materials a week before that. If for some reason we can't, we'll check in with you guys ahead of time to make sure we get a continuance in.
Okay. Then can I get a motion to continue this to our next meeting on September 23rd?
So moved.
Second?
No, second.
All in favor? Ed?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I am also an aye.
All right, thank you all for your time tonight.
Thank
Yep.
you, Andrew.
Take care.
Okay, so we're back to work session items. Matt, you said we already covered 42 North Mill?
Correct.
Correct. All right, then we have 242 Hayden Row. Request for certificate of compliance. Judy, did you want to give us a briefing on this and a recommendation?
Sure, through the chair. So this is a request for certificate of compliance to close out an order issued in 2008 for construction of the single family house. They had applied for the COC back in 2022, but had a few outstanding items that were just now being addressed. So one of those was installing a PIB along the 50-foot buffer. The commission at the time determined that this fence could stay, but just to add PIB markers in the back lawn along the 50-foot. Anna and I did go out and verify that those are in the correct locations. The area between the PIBs and the fence was meant to revegetate naturally, so no plantings were required, but this had to become a no-touch zone. And it does look like vegetation is growing in, so that looked good, and I can share pictures as well. And the last item was there had been a sort of batting cage structure behind the shed here that was lined on the bottom, so it wasn't allowing vegetation to come through. So the commission at the time had asked for this to be removed. So it's now over here in the lawn here. And for this area also to naturally revegetate, which it has done. So at this time, those were the last remaining items from when it was discussed back in 2022. So from that perspective, I think it's my recommendation is that the COC be issued, but happy to answer any questions and show pictures too.
Okay. Thanks, Judy. Yeah, if you want to throw a couple pictures up.
Yep.
Took them.
So this was the batting cage before it had been taken out. So this is 2022. Bear with me as I scroll through my Google Drive. And these are some pictures from our site visit. This is that batting cage area now fully vegetated. There was a small debris pile behind the shed. This has been confirmed to be removed. So that is all set. This is the area of the 50-foot buffer back towards the fence, which is kind of in this tree line here. So that's all come up nice. And the 50-foot buffer continues sort of along here. So this looks a little funky, but we determined that the goal was not encroaching. I don't have any pictures of the PIBs, but I promise I did see them.
Okay. Thank you.
That was going to be my next question.
Sorry.
I trust you.
Yeah, through the chair. They're actually nicely buried in that vegetation. So he's actually allowed even more than the 50 to become naturally revegetated. So we did poke through, but they are back there.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Thank you. I don't have any questions or comments. Anyone else? Anyone from the public or the homeowner? No, we good?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for listening to my petition and appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for working with us. That being said, can I get a motion to approve the certificate of compliance with signatures by Anna or Judy?
So moved.
Second.
And a second. I think that was Matt. All in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. We're all set.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Next up, we have Wall Street Development, 10 Leonard Street and 12 Leonard Street, request for certificate of compliance. Let's see. I do see we have Mr. Petrosi on the line tonight. But Judy, do you want to go ahead and give us your review of the COC request?
Sure, through the chair.
Yeah.
So we received these two requests for COCs for 10 and 12 Leonard, issued for construction of both dwellings earlier this year. But one of Joe's remaining comments was whether the planting areas indicated on the approved planting plans were installed correctly, whether we had gotten required reports on those planting areas, as well as the invasive species management report requirements. So we'd been waiting on that information. After the fact from the applicant, we did receive some before and after pictures, as well as some invoices of plants purchased for both properties, and a report from Ecotech explaining their findings from a site visit, which does indicate that there are still invasives present. So I think some of that material has been received, but not all of it. We don't have, a full report on whether the planting areas were installed correctly. Anna and I went out and have a couple of notes on each of the properties. So at 10 Leonard, we did still see knotweed along the road. We didn't see clear plantings. There might have been 2 dogwoods, but everything else kind of looked more like natural vegetation. And we did still see erosion controls in place at that property. And for 12 Leonard, we did see a lot of shrub plantings, but we didn't see trees, which were spec'd at 1 every 300 square feet. and some of the shrubs were seemingly cultivar species as well. The other issue with 12 Leonard is that the residents seem to have carved a trail throughout the wetland, looking like they've been raking and cutting vegetation to maintain that trail, and they have been mowing past the PIBs as well. So I think there's some new outstanding items, and I don't think that the major outstanding item of the planting area and the invasive species have been fully addressed at this time.
Okay. Mr. Petrozzi, do you want to respond on any of those comments?
Sure. Why not? I love staying up late.
I know you do.
So, it sounds to me like, this property was completed, houses were sold over 2 years ago. And what's transpired since then, we don't have any control over what the homeowners are responsible for. We tried to explain to them what their responsibility is on the order of conditions, but it sounds to me like it's the commission or the agent is confusing what is things that are responsibilities after Wall Street has sold the properties to these folks. Whether or not they are maintaining the invasives or doing what they're supposed to do, it's kind of not my problem. We did what we needed to do while we were there. I think the properties look fairly good. I haven't been out there recently. We did have Ecotech, as requested, go out there and do an analysis of what he thought was, he did indicate that there were some invasives that still exist, but I don't think it was the intention of the invasives to disappear overnight. I think it was intended on doing some treatment and trying to mitigate the invasives, and I think we did that while we were there. So to hold us responsible for something that's now over 2 years past, I don't think is a fair judgment. Our responsibility to request a certificate of compliance is completion of the work related to the order of conditions and not all these continuing regulations or conditions that you have that go along with most orders of conditions for people who become homeowners. It's their responsibility to maintain them.
Okay. I think what my response to that would just be that a more timely submission of a request for a CFC would take care of a lot of these issues. So
I know, Melissa, but we submitted this while Kim was still the agent. I don't know how back that goes. Probably a year and a half ago, we submitted this. So we even had difficulty getting permission to remove the erosion control. I don't know if you remember the conversations that we had, but this is not something that we just decided to submit all of a sudden. We've submitted this at the time that we were selling the properties and conveying the properties. And so it's a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So
yeah. No,
it's not fair to put that on us. We certainly did the best that we could while the work was going on. I think we did a great job there. We took care of, I don't know if you saw the before and after pictures of the invasives that were there before versus what's there now. It's clearly night and day. So I don't know what more you would want from us other than, invasives grow back. They grow back. We all know that. So, but it's not Wall Street's responsibility to go back there. It's the homeowners that need to maintain the continuing conditions that you have in your order. And I think the homeowners, once they understand what their responsibilities are, especially like this cutting the grass and overstepping the boundaries and things like that, I think they just need to be educated a little bit better on what they need to do. And I think they're receptive to that.
Yeah, no, I agree. The education piece with homeowners is on our plate and something that we do as a commission. However, we can't approve a request for a certificate of compliance when there are still erosion controls in place.
Well,
And when
I'm perfectly willing to go. I don't know what's left out there in terms of erosion control, but you certainly could, you know, approve the certificate of compliance and then hold it in your hands until we actually went out there and removed the erosion. If that's the only thing that you're going to hold us to, you know, I can send somebody out there to take it out. We did have somebody remove. I thought it was all removed, but I'm, you know, now told that it is a small area that still remains. I don't think we should have another meeting where I should wait 3 hours to talk to you about getting, because of a little bit of erosion control left on the property.
Well, you know, I think if we, I think the reason why we don't sign off and then hold things is because then they never get done. And we've, you know, dealt with that in the past. So if, you know, you come to us with everything completed, then we should have no problem approving the certificate of compliance. So what I see right now is on 10, there's erosion control still in place. And then
Judy, do you have a picture of what's left there for erosion control?
I have a few. Some of them are kind of hard to see, but it was around the full. So we saw it along the roadway, along the driveway, and again along the front of the lawn.
And this is on 10, right?
Yep, just on 10. I didn't see them on the others.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take care of that. I mean, that is our responsibility from that standpoint, and we'll go out there and take care of it.
Yeah, and then I think as far as the plantings go, it sounds like they were planted. We just have had difficulty identifying them on the site.
Well, yeah, because it's overgrown now. I mean, it's like, you know, these plants were meant to grow into, you know, the border of the wetland. They're not meant to stick out and be like a landscape garden. You know, they're meant to grow into the vegetation that's there. And I think after 2 years, I think they have for the most part.
Yeah, no, that's a positive. On number 12, though, there's discrepancy as to shrubs versus trees. That one sticks out a little more to me than 10.
I don't even know if they took them. You know, again, you have the list there that we got. We ordered them based upon the square footage and the requirements, and we had them planted prior to us getting an occupancy permit, because that's what was a requirement of ours. Even though it's, maybe there's no notations here in the record, but I'm sure Kim and Anna would go out there prior to the occupancy permit being issued to confirm that the plants were in place. We did that. It's over 2 years ago. You know, it's actually coming up on 2 years right now, for the last house anyway. So, listen, if you want a few extra trees, I'm happy to put in a few extra trees. We're not talking a lot. We're talking minimal dollars. It's just, I just don't think it's. I don't think it's appropriate to hold up a certificate of compliance for a few shrubs and an erosion control thing that, you know, we did a lot of work out there, and I think it came out really nice, and I think we did what we were supposed to do. And so for a few shrubs and an erosion control fence, I mean, this is kind of petty, in my opinion.
Through the chair.
Yes, Matt.
Judy, is this the list of the plantings that were installed?
Yes. List of plantings that were ordered.
Ordered. Okay.
On both lots, there were two invoices.
So this is,
I appreciate it, Lou. Just give us a chance to talk for a second.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any trees, any oaks or maples that were required on the plan in this list.
You may be right. I mean, this is going back 2 years, but like I said, if you need a couple of trees out there, I have no problems doing it. I just don't think it's what I would suggest, or so we don't take up too much more time, is that hold the certificate of compliances. We'll go out there and do what we need to do. Judy can go out there and make sure that it's done. And when they're done, then you can release them. It's pretty simple.
Through the chair.
Yes, Matt.
So I understand where you're coming from, Mr. Petrosi, but from my perspective, the applicant has a responsibility to comply with the order of conditions. We're seeing here that you have clearly not complied with that order. There are no trees that were installed on this property. The erosion and sedimentation controls were not removed from the other property. So I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, it's not our responsibility to cater to your desire. It's our responsibility to apply the order that was issued to our decision making. And at least from my perspective, what I'm seeing here is the projects as they stand today have not met all of the requirements of the order issued for them. I think it's pretty clear. So that's where I stand on this.
All right. Well, listen, I'm not gonna argue with you. You want a few trees, you want the erosion. Listen, you want to take up the time again? That's fine. But are those the only two things that we're missing now? Is that have we established that as the only two things that are remaining that we need to do?
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
The order of conditions, one of the things was invasive species, and you might argue that with the transfer of the property that you're no longer responsible for that, but that's part of the order of conditions. And I would submit that, as you know, that if you do not stay on top of invasives, they continue to grow and to multiply. And I think that's a failure to such that I will not vote to give you your order of conditions on that basis.
Well, that's unfair because, we're not responsible from the day we convey the property. We're not responsible for the continuing conditions of your orders of conditions. No person is responsible. The order of condition goes with the property. So I don't think it's appropriate for you to have that position.
Through the chair.
Yes, Ted.
I would say that whenever we get these COCs that come to us, sometimes they are from buildings that are 20, 25 years old. We look at the property the way it is when the certificate of compliance is requested. Right now it's being requested, and there are lots of parts of the properties that are not meeting our requirements. On top of the invasives, on top of the trees not being planted, on top of the erosion controls, we have mowing beyond where mowing is supposed to happen. We have a trail going through the wetlands. We are asked to look at the project right now and see if it meets what was agreed to. And right now it does not.
Well, excuse me, but I don't really want to belabor the point. We requested the certificate of compliances almost 2 years ago. If you're going to hold us responsible for what homeowners do after they acquire the property, that again is an unreasonable position to take. So I'm trying to work with you folks, but if you're going to hold me responsible for the behavior of people who own the property, that's not my job. That's not my responsibility. So if you continue to maintain that position, then we're not going to get anywhere. I don't really care one way or the other whether you issue a certificate of compliance or not. I'm doing this for the homeowners because they would like a certificate of compliance so they can go and come to the commission with other types of things. Maybe they learn their lesson about swing sets and sheds and cutting grass and all these other things that they may not be complying with now. This is not my responsibility. If you want a couple of trees for me to comply with what was shown or to remove the erosion control because we forgot to do it or didn't do it, then I'm happy to do that. But I'm not going to be responsible for ongoing conditions that are not related to the construction or the project. So,
Melissa.
Yes, Jim.
So, Lou, having said that, what do you think about calling in the individual homeowners, property owners, and letting them know what their responsibilities are. I think that Mr. Petrosi's got to take the sedimentation controls out. But you say, Lou, that you planted everything that's on that list, but it may now be overgrown or removed by the homeowner.
It could have been. I don't. We planted everything on these invoices on where they were supposed to go. Okay. I mean, that's all I can tell you. I don't do the planting. I'm not doing it.
So Judy, you didn't see those all those plants?
I didn't see any trees at 12. And then
Through the chair.
Yes, Joe.
Just going back and looking at my review from when I was out there in late December of last year, I did have a note that I did see some red maples planted on both lots. On number 10, I had noted about 24 shrubs and trees. I didn't have it consisting of red maples and dogwoods primarily. I didn't have an exact count or breakdown of how many trees and shrubs there were. And on number 12, I had counted approximately 40 shrubs and trees consisting of red maple, dogwoods, highbush blueberry, and serviceberry. So I did see some trees out there at the time. I had noted that it didn't appear that all the areas that were proposed to be planted with those trees and shrubs had been planted with the trees and shrubs. But there were, like I said, approximately 40 and approximately 24, and it consisted of trees, red maples, and shrub plantings.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that.
That's helpful.
Just so you know, Melissa, the way the formula on the plan was a certain number of shrubs per square feet. I forget what it was, one for every 300 square feet or something like that. So the calculation, it wasn't a specific number. We calculated based on the square footage approximately of the hashed area that was shown on the plan. And, there wasn't like plant 60 shrubs or plant 40 shrubs there wasn't a fixed number. It was an estimate based on what we calculated to be the square footage. And that's how we did it. I don't know what to say. We did the job, we did the work. What the homeowners have done since that time, I have no idea, and I have no control over what they do. That's their property. If you feel like they've overstepped their bounds, then you would do like you would do to me, which put an enforcement order or go talk to them. Or I think I had a conversation because I think either Judy or Hannah were out there and explained to them that they shouldn't be doing certain things. So I think they have a better idea about it now, because I did have a conversation with them saying that, you're holding up the certificates of compliance, and these are the things that they need to be aware of. So, like I said, we try to educate the people when we convey the properties. Sometimes they have a hard time understanding or they don't think it's that big of a deal, what they may be doing. So, like I said, I think we did exactly what we were supposed to do. Now, we will go out there and we will remove the erosion control. It's not a big deal. It's, should have been done before. And I'm surprised that it hasn't been done, or that it's gone this long, that it hasn't been removed. So, but I think Joe's referencing what he saw out there back in December, which is almost a year ago now. The plants were there, the shrubs were there, the trees were there, everything that was required of us was done. So I don't know what else to say. I don't have any other explanations.
No, I think that's helpful, Joe. It's hard, she said things are grown in, and for us to feel comfortable, we can only see what we can.
Yeah, the longer it goes, it becomes much more difficult to pick things out that were planted.
Yeah. I think maybe, Lou, if you can take care of those erosion controls, maybe Joe can share his notes with Judy on the plantings, so we just have that in the file. And I do think it is because there's a shared desire from the homeowners for the certificate of compliance as well. Might be worth having or inviting them to come in to the next meeting as well, just to kind of go over the expectation and what the ongoing conditions are that we expect them to kind of keep up here.
I think Judy explained. Was it you, Judy, or was it Hannah that did it? I think Judy gave him a pretty good talking to, from what I understand, about what they're supposed to do and what not to do, and
okay,
anything that they want to modify or change or improve on the property, that they have to come. It's all, the whole property is within jurisdiction of the Concom, so I think they just need to know that and understand what the process is. Most people don't know that. I mean, they don't know what the process is. So,
well, that's why it's a great idea to have them in so that we can speak with them. And if there's something that they were supposed to do and haven't done, we can get them to do it.
Sure.
So I'm a big fan of it.
I'm actually here, folks.
Oh. This is Jake Tadero. He's the owner of 12 Leonard Street.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for identifying yourself. So I guess I'll ask you, do you have questions, any thoughts you want to share with the commission as far as your property and what this means, the certificate of compliance, and what you're responsible for?
Yeah, I have a couple comments. So I definitely understand there are ongoing conditions that I have done things intentionally or unintentionally that violate. I don't understand why that holds up the developer's certificate of compliance, because these conditions go on forever for me. And you know, I raked a little trail so my 5-year-old could skip through the woods to her mailbox. I'll let that grow back. That's not a big deal. The mowing, I just mowed where the grass was, and I know that the PIBs are there so that you don't build anything by there, but I didn't know I wasn't allowed to mow there. I'm happy to let that area grow back in. I do think it's somewhat ironic that we're holding up the bushes that have been overgrown because they haven't been mowed and we can't identify them, and then on my property where I do mow, I get in trouble for mowing. But yeah, I don't understand why those conditions would hold up the builder's certificate of compliance. I would like the certificate of compliance to be issued because there's an ugly Wall Street development sign on the front of my house that I don't like. I don't like that 3 people have shown up to take pictures in my yard, and it's just this sword of Damocles over my head. If Lou gets hit by a bus or if I have to sell the house or something, it's just something I want to get cleared up. So I think I understand my responsibilities now. I'm happy to comply with all of those things. I think the trees and the bushes were planted, from what I can tell, according to plan. The erosion controls, I think there were just 2 layers of them, and one of them is so old and so buried that if you tried to pull it up right now, it would fray into a million little pieces. And unless you want to support birds building nests with synthetic materials, I think those erosion controls are probably better to leave in place than to try and tear up at this point. They're so buried. You could try and remove the stakes, I guess, but the actual woven material is so degraded. It's construction started on these houses 4 or 5 years ago, so I don't want to agree with Lou, but I kind of agree with Lou on some of this stuff. But yeah, I call Lou and he says bug you, and I call you and you say bug Lou, and I don't want to bug anybody anymore. I just want to move on. So those are my thoughts.
Okay. I appreciate that. Sounds like you have a pretty good handle on you know, what we're trying to do in the areas that we are trying to protect.
Yeah. Oh, and for invasives, Kim showed me what Japanese knotweed looks like. I've been trimming and treating that. I don't think there's any left on 12. There is some on 10 along the road. I'd be happy to talk to Mike Reed is the guy over there and work with him on managing that, because I've had reasonable success. If there are other invasives that aren't Japanese knotweed, I don't know what they are and I don't know what they look like. So I'd be happy to have somebody explain to me what those are and I can take care of them.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's great. Because that stuff will migrate real quickly, the Japanese knotweed. All right, so you're on 12. Based on what Joe has in his notes, I think it's fair to say the plantings are probably good. 10 is the one with the erosion controls still in place. So we want to pull those out. Does anyone have, I'm leaning towards voting to approve the COC for 12.
Melissa.
And then continuing on 10. Go
Melissa,
ahead, Matt.
on 12, the only outstanding item was the trees, because they weren't on this list, but we've now got Joe's confirmation that he saw them installed. Is that the only outstanding item on 12? Now we've talked to the homeowner. He understands the ongoing conditions. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, from my perspective, then it sounds like it's complying with the order of conditions. That
Melissa?
Joe's comments change the discussion a little bit here, from my view.
Okay.
Melissa?
The chair.
Yes, Anna. And then I'll jump to you to Ted.
So just as a reminder to the commission, so you have withheld COCs from other developers where homeowners are mowing past the PIBs. So if you were to vote, I would still not release it until confirmation that that mowing and that path has grown back in. So just as a friendly reminder of those two outstanding items on 12.
Okay.
Through you, Melissa, we could also do that for 10, couldn't we? Well, that is condition the final release of the COC on removing the stakes or whatever can be removed for the erosion control. Can we do the same thing with 10? It sounds like the same thing to me, but.
Well, we could. The difference to me is removing something that hasn't been removed and I feel like will never be done versus just waiting for grass to grow back, which requires no effort at all.
Okay, so we should wait to vote on that until that's done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ted, you were going to say something.
I heard Joe to say something a little more nuanced than I think I'm hearing now. I think what I heard Joe to say is he did see evidence of trees being planted, but he didn't necessarily see them planted where they were supposed to be planted, that there were areas of planting that did not show evidence of complying with the plans. Did I understand you correctly, Joe, or did I misunderstand?
Well, if I can read my comment from my memo dated January 3rd, 2025. Ellie notes the approved plan sheet SUPA shows proposed planting areas. Although Ellie observed plantings as noted above, that was number 10, the 24 shrubs and trees. We did not observe plantings in the entire area indicated on the plan. And then in addition, there was a question on whether the monitoring reports, which were required in the order, had been submitted. And for number 12, I think I had a similar comment. I observed approximately 40 shrubs and trees planted along the PIBs, consisting of red maple, dogwoods, highbush blueberry, and serviceberry. Note that the serviceberry is a cultivar. However, there was no restriction on the use of cultivars noted in the order of conditions or on the improved invasive species management and planting program. So on 12, I didn't have a question on the locations of where they were planted. On 10, there was a question of whether the entire area that was supposed to have been planted was planted.
Thank you. That helps clarify things for me, both on a vote for each property. Thank you.
Can you explain to me, Joe, because what area are you suggesting was not planted?
Yeah, I would have to go back in more detail and look at my. I had him review this in detail for tonight, but I can do that.
Well, as I recall, as I said on the plan, they weren't specified areas like where each plant was to be planted. Along the driveway, it was a mixture of wetland mix grass, and then along the inner portion of the lots where the PIBs are, that's where the plantings were to go. So if you are thinking that there should have been plantings along the driveway, that was never part of the protocol. That was always supposed to be a wetland mixed grass, and that's what was done there. It's grass on the slope of the driveways. So I quite honestly, I can't believe we're having this conversation about a few plants, but the plants were done. They were put in the places that were designated on the plan. The calculation was based on the square footage of the area that was hashed out on the plan. And that's how we came out with the quantities. That's why there's there's a greater area on 12 than there was on 10. And that's why there's a difference in the number of plants. There was no magic formula here. It's not rocket science. You just calculate the square footage, you divide it by 300, and you get a certain number of plants. That's how it goes. That's how it is. I don't know if you folks have looked at the plan lately, but to me, listen, I'm not. If you don't want to issue the certificate of compliance, that's up to you. But on the certificate of compliance, if you've seen them before, and I'm sure you have, there are boxes on the certificate of compliance that you can check off that says what things are completed and what things are remain to be completed, but the work in and of itself is completed. There's no need to hold up a certificate of compliance for what we're talking about. So,
okay. So I think I'm still going with my previous thought with those clarifications. 12 seems to be all set, according to plantings with Joe's notes, as Matt said, that changed things. So I'm comfortable issuing certificate of compliance for number 12. The condition, like Anna said, we hold on to it, make sure the grass grows back. 10, I'd like to just hold that one till the erosion controls are out, and then maybe Joe and Judy can share notes on plantings. I'm not so concerned about exact placement numbers, but more that the areas that were supposed to be planted have sufficient vegetation growing in them, reflective of what we were looking for on the plans, if that makes sense.
I'm in agreement, and I think I'm ready to make a motion unless there's more discussion.
Yeah, before you make that motion, Ted, on 10, I'm in agreement, right? The erosion control, sediment controls need to come out. I think our expectation is also that area is fully stabilized before we're in a position to issue a certificate. So I guess the question is, how far out do we want to continue that discussion?
The erosion controls?
Through the chair, you don't have to specify a date for COCs. We can just wait until we have confirmation to reschedule on our end.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Judy. Go ahead, Ted.
So I think we're going to need two motions, or maybe just one. I'd like to make a motion to issue a COC on 12 Leonard Street with signatures from Ann or Judy, but that they are held until Ann and Judy agree that the mowing beyond the PIB stops and that the trail through the wetland is left to disappear.
Yeah, second.
Second.
All in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye.
Thank you.
Yep.
Maybe
Thank
another
you.
motion.
I don't think we need one if we are agreeing to wait on 10 Leonard. I don't think we need a motion to not grant it. So I think it's just a one motion, one vote.
Right.
So before I go to bed, we're just making sure that we're just going to remove the erosion control. That's the only criteria that we're talking about right now for the certificate of compliance. Do I understand that correctly?
That's correct, as long as Joe and Judy's notes jive.
Okay.
And we'll let you know.
I, for one, am interested in where Joe said the plantings didn't occur.
Yeah, I'm happy to have that conversation too, because it's on, like I said, it's shown on the plan. But I'll take care of it for you folks, and we'll see you at the next meeting on the 23rd.
Through the chair.
Yes, Matt.
I just want to make sure it's understood. It's not just removing the controls, it's stabilizing the area that's disturbed after the controls are removed.
Yeah.
That's an important piece of that effort.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Petrosi, and thank you, Jake, for coming in.
Yeah, thank you all. I do have one quick question. Is it okay if I put like stakes to mark where the guys who don't speak English who mow my lawn while I'm at work know where to go and not go?
Yes.
Please do. I see.
Because they just mow what looks like grass. This isn't like nobody made a conscious decision on what to do. So if you guys are okay with that, I'll just put some wood stakes in there and we'll let it grow back.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Appreciate that.
Sounds good. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. We'll see you in the next meeting.
All right. Okay. Next up we have Lake Maspinock Weed Advisory Group, new liaison. So Janine was our Lake Maspinock liaison for that advisory group. So we need a new one. I know Judy reached out to that advisory group to ask for some more information. You still haven't heard back from them, right, Judy? Or
I have actually.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yep. So it sounds like they meet virtually 2 to 4 times a year. So fairly low commitment. But they are currently talking about their recommendations for treatment for 2026. So they are eager to have a new member, especially someone from Concom.
Did they say when their next meeting is?
No.
No.
Oh, he said the next month or so, but not an exact date.
Okay.
So I'm not available to do that. Regrettably.
I've already got my second committee.
Yeah, I can't help out on this one.
We do. Unless anything came in like today, we still don't have any applications for the 2 open seats. Right, Judy? Nana?
Haven't heard anything.
Okay. Because that's an option as well.
I'm twisting.
Melissa.
Yes.
So I know people can go on to the town's website. They can see vacancies, but can we do something like I don't know, get the word out better? Whether it's independent or Mary Ellen might write a little blurb about vacancies or something like that. It seems like if we rely on just word of mouth and people going to the town website, maybe that's not enough candidate, not a big enough audience.
Yeah.
Mary Ellen may be listening right now.
I was gonna say, yeah, per this report,
Oh, hi.
if we could request in the next article.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think of that?
The solution is very simple. Back in the 1800s, there were things called press gangs. Does anybody know what a press gang was?
No, but it sounds like something we should get rid of.
They walked around the wharfs and found likely candidates and grabbed them by the scruff of the neck and hauled them aboard and said, okay, now you're a deckhand. And then they left port. And I think that we could try this. We could find likely looking candidates, grab them by the scruff of the neck, and if we met in person, we could drag them into our meeting. See?
And say you're also on the weed management committee.
You know, I'm struggling with what I'm doing now, and I mean, I live in
Maybe we
Lake
can
Tahoe, which has got a
maybe that's
massive
something
weed problem.
on Friday. Sorry, Ed. Maybe that's something we can push Saturday, by the way, is to get the word out Saturday at Family Day.
Yeah.
That we have vacancies.
Yep. We can certainly do that. Okay, we can think about this one. It's not
Good
easy.
segue.
I think that's a perfect segue. I was
It is a
just
good
about to say
segue.
that.
So Saturday is Family Day. We have a tent. We have some activities. It's 2 to 6 is when the booths are actually open. So Judy, you said you had some time you could spend on Saturday. I have some time I can spend. We wanted to kind of pull the group and see who else is willing to come.
Jim will be there.
Time. Jim
I'll
will
be there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll help set up. I can help set up and take down too.
I'm sorry to not carry my weight, but my birthday is Thursday, and my wife has booked for us a weekend trip to the Adirondacks, and I won't be around this weekend.
Happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, open space is hopefully going to be semi-organized, and maybe we could put our space next to your space, and we could kind of cover for each other.
Yeah.
And
Do they already have the tent locations identified, Judy?
I haven't heard that yet. No, I think they just said when we get there, they direct us to the place we're setting up. It's got to be pretty big.
So I'll come in. Are you going to be in Friday? I come in and pick up all the stuff.
Oh, I can come set up. I just have to leave at 4. So I just need somebody to pack it all up for me. But I can.
Oh, that's fine. I can do that. But you can get it over there?
Yep.
Oh, okay, great. Okay. So then we'll just set up a time to meet. 1 o'clock. Does that sound good?
Yeah, 1 is good. They said no earlier than 12:30, so anytime after that.
All right.
Okay.
I just thought of a new activity for Family Day. Now, I'm not around to run it, but tonight's meeting makes me think, put a whole bunch of weeds around and have kids try to find the PIB. Or oak tree, whatever it is they need to find in the weeds.
Just how about just hide in the woods?
Yeah.
Have a lot of lost kids.
Great. That sounds good.
All right, you looking for a motion to adjourn?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I am also an aye.
Jim, you're almost lit up like you're going to tell us a ghost story.
No, I'm holding off. Oh, look at that. You're right. I didn't realize that. Oh, huh?
Yeah.
I got to eat some different food. I look forward to seeing whoever's there Saturday.
Sounds
Good
good.
night, guys.
I'll see you there. I'll bring my candy.
Oh, smart.
Ed, bring some invasives.
I think there's some over by the track. We can just go over and cut them.
Yeah, and leave your red hat home too, by the way.
How about I bring my cannon?
The kids would like that. The kids would definitely like that.
You know, my mother was my wife was at Brimfield. My mother bought me cannons from Brimfield, but my wife was there this past weekend, and there was a really pretty nice field piece, and she did not buy it for me.
Smart woman. Yeah. You don't need any more toys.
Good night,
everyone.
All right. Good night.